Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that. If you're returning, how you doing? Okay, have lots of coffee on hand. Okay, maybe some biscotti for dipping. I don't know, but get comfy. Okay, what we're going to be talking about right now is false flags, political manipulation, extremism, right in the palm of their hands. And it is something that is shadowy, controversial, covert. And it's called Operation Gladio. Gladio, okay? Now, like I always say, do your own research, form your own opinions, okay? Operation Gladio. It's, like I said, one of the most shadowy, controversial, covert operations of the Cold War era. It's clandestine, stay behind the network orchestrated by NATO and the CIA and various European intelligence agencies. Its stated purpose was to prepare for a potential Soviet invasion of Western Europe by establishing secret resistance forces. However, the operation's legacy is steeped in allegations of false flag terrorism, political manipulation, like I said, connections to far-right extremism, making it a lightning rod for conspiracy theories and historical debate. But like I've said before, and I'll say it again, conspiracy theories always seem to come true, don't they? Now, here's a deep dive into everything that I can tell you about Operation Gladio, from its origins to the juiciest of details, and also the lingering questions. Operation Gladio began in the late 1940s, born out of the intense paranoia that gripped Western leaders after World War II. The Soviet Union was emerging as a superpower, and the fear of communist expansion, either through invasion or internal subversion, which was palpable. The concept was simple: create secret stay-behind armies across Western Europe, trained, equipped to wage guerrilla warfare if the Soviets overran their countries. And these networks were modeled after the resistance groups that fought the Nazi occupation during the war, like the British Special Operations Executive. Now, the operation's name, Gladio, Gladio, comes from the Italian word for sword. It's derived from the Roman gladius, though it technically refers to the Italian branch of a broader NATO-led initiative. Similar networks existed in many NATO countries: Belgium, France, Greece, West Germany, the Netherlands, Norway, Denmark, Portugal, Turkey, okay, as well as neutral nations like Sweden, Switzerland, Austria. The Clandestine Committee of the Western Union, or CCWU, founded in 1948, initially coordinated these efforts. But after NATO's creation in 1949, oversight shifted to the CPC, or the Clandestine Planning Committee, under Supreme Headquarters, Allied Powers Europe, also known as SHAPE. Now, the CIA, under figures like Allen Dulles, played a major role in funding and organizing Gladio. often in collaboration with Britain's M16. The networks were stocked with weapon caches, machine guns, explosives, grenades, hidden in remote locations like forests, parks. Operatives were typically military personnel, intelligence agents, anti-communist civilians, including some with far-right leanings or even fascist pasts. It's a detail that would later fuel the controversy. Now, when it came to the Italian revelation, Gladio burst into public consciousness in 1990 when Italian Prime Minister Giulio Andreotti admitted its existence to the Italian Senate. This wasn't a voluntary confession. Andreotti was forced to speak after a Venetian magistrate, Felice Casson, uncovered evidence during an investigation into a 1972 car detonation that took the lives of 3 police officers. Casson traced the explosives to a secret arms depot linked to Gladio. It exposed a hidden network that had operated for decades without parliamentary oversight. Andreotti revealed that Gladio was established in Italy in 1951. It was a joint effort between the CIA and the Italian intelligence. It was with a focus on the northeast near the Yugoslav border, which was a hot spot for potential communist incursion. By 1959, it had been integrated into NATO's structure. He claimed it was disbanded in 1990 due to the Cold War's end. But his admission opened a Pandora's box, prompting other European nations to acknowledge their own stay-behind networks. Now, the juiciest and the most disturbing aspect of Gladio is its alleged role in the strategy of tension. It was a campaign of terror in Italy during the years of lead, late 1960s, early 1980s. This period saw bombings, assassinations, political violence, often blamed on leftist groups like the Red Brigades. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. But however, evidence suggested some of these attacks were carried out by right-wing extremists, which were tied to Gladio, with the intent to frame communists, justify authoritarian crackdowns. Now, one of the infamous examples that I can give you is the Piazza Fontana incident that happened on December 12th of 1969 in Milan. A device in the Banca Nazionale dell'Agricoltura. My Italian is very, very shaky. I haven't spoken Italian in years, so please excuse me. 16 people lost their lives. 58 others were injured. Initially pinned on anarchists, leading to the suspicious demise of the suspect Giuseppe Benelli, who fell from a police window. Later, the investigations pointed to a neo-fascist operatives like Vincenzo Vinciguerra. During his 1984 trial, Vinciguerra confessed to the 1972 incident that Casson investigated, admitting The goal was to attack civilians, the people, women, and children, to create fear, to push public opinion rightward. Now, he explicitly linked these acts to Gladio, claiming that NATO and the CIA supported them to prevent Italy's Communist Party, or PCI, from gaining power. A 2000 Italian parliamentary report from the left-wing Olive Tree Coalition concluded that the strategy of tension was a U.S.-backed effort to block the PCI and the Socialist Party, or PSI, from government, and other incidents tied to Gladio include the 1980 Bologna train station incident, where 85 lost their lives and 200 more were injured, the 1978 kidnapping and loss of life of former Prime Minister Aldo Moro, though evidence for the latter is circumstantial. Now, Gladio wasn't confined to just Italy. There is a rundown that I'm going to give you of its reach and some of the nitty-gritty details, okay? When it came to Belgium, the Stay Behind network, which was called SDRA8, was linked to the Brabant, BRABANT, killings, which happened from 82 to 85. It was a series of brutal supermarket raids that took 28 lives. Some speculate that Gladio operatives were involved, possibly to destabilize the country and political tensions. France, known as Plan Bleu, BLEU. The French network was dissolved after Gladio's exposure, though Defense Minister Jean-Pierre Chauvenement called it dormant for years. And rumors persist of ties to anti-Gaullist plots. Okay? Yeah. Now, when it came to Greece, Operation Sheepskin, or Red Sheepskin, supported the 1967 military coup that birthed the regime of the colonels. Andreas Papandreou, later Greece's socialist PM, claimed he discovered and tried to dismantle it in 1984. When it came to Turkey, the counter-guerrilla led by figures like Alparslan Turkis and General Kenan Evren, who staged the 1980 coup, was accused of state-sponsored terrorism and massacres. Some would argue it morphed into the Ergenekon, ERGENEKON, deep state network, which is still alive today. When it comes to Switzerland, the P-26 unit trained with the British Special Forces and reportedly had a mandate to act if leftists gained parliamentary power. Its exposures in 1990 led to Defense Minister Casper Villiger's resignation. The Netherlands, weapons caches surfaced in 1991 when criminals were caught with Gladio-linked arms, sparking fears of political fallout. Now, even neutral countries like Sweden and Switzerland hosted Gladio-style operations, often with CIA funding, raising concerns about sovereignty and accountability. Now, how did Gladio sustain itself? Early funding came from unconventional sources: bogus British banknotes, morphine stockpiles looted from NAZI Germany, smuggled out of Italy, As the Cold War progressed, the CIA and NATO funneled billions into these networks, often bypassing congressional and parliamentary oversight. Training was hardcore. Operatives drilled on Mediterranean islands, in U.S. Green Beret camps, and at British SAS facilities. Some Swiss gladiators even claimed real-world ops against the IRA in Northern Ireland. Weapons caches were a logistical marvel. 139 were documented in Italy alone, buried in parks, in forests, and near strategic sites. In the Netherlands, one stashed near Scheveningen, Scheveningen. Yeah, try pronouncing that one. Was raided by criminals, exposing the network's vulnerabilities. And the secrecy was so tight that many elected officials, even prime ministers, they were kept in the dark. So, Swiss historian Danielle Ganzer's 2005 book, NATO's Secret Armies, is supposedly the go-to source for Gladio's dark side. And he argues it wasn't just a defensive measure, but a tool for political control, accusing Gladio of orchestrating false flag attacks across Europe. And he ties it to right-wing terrorism and coups, and even the rise of groups like the Mujahideen, Mujahideen. Yeah. Critics like Pierre Henrik Hansen and Philip H.J. Davies, they slammed Ganser for leaning on conspiracy theories without hardcore proof, calling his work polemical and poorly researched. Well, if it's the go-to source, how is it poorly researched? Yeah. The U.S. State Department in 2006 dismissed his claims as Cold War disinformation, insisting Gladio was purely defensive. Well, if the State Department is going to dismiss it as misinformation or disinformation, then you know it's true. Yet the 1990s revelations and the Vincent Guerrera's testimony lend credence to some of these accusations. The Italian Parliament's findings, plus declassified British files, per the Grey Zone in 2023, they suggest that the Gladio operatives weren't just waiting for Soviets, but actively shaping domestic politics through violence. So was there an unholy alliance? Well, there's another book by Paul L. Williams. It's called Operation Gladio, The Unholy Alliance Between the Vatican, the CIA, and the Mafia. And it adds like a wild twist to this whole thing, if you will. He claims that the operation began with a post-World War II pact to fund anti-communist efforts via substance trafficking, with the Vatican laundering profits, which I know that I'm Catholic, but I wouldn't put anything past them. 15 to 20% of the trade cash, okay? And he ties Gladio to coups, death squads, and even Pope Francis the First, his rise, linking him to Operation Condor in Argentina. Now, while gripping his narrative lacks an index and leans heavily on speculation, it makes for a juicy but contentious read. Now, Gladio's official end came in 1990. But the question is did it really stop I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think any of these operations or these projects ever really come to a stop, but that's just my opinion. Some speculate it involved into Gladio B, targeting Islamic extremism, neo-Nazis for similar ends. Uh, Posts on social media, if you look at this stuff, hint an ongoing CIA NATO ops for like the big U, Ukraine, to substance cartels. Though the evidence is quite thin, there's, you know, there could be something there. The operation's secrecy, its last known meeting was in Brussels in October 1990. It leaves much unresolved. Were European democracies undermined by their own protectors? How many attacks were misattributed? And who truly pulled the strings? In short, Operation Gladio is a murky saga of espionage, terror, power, where the line between defense and subversion blurs. Its juiciest details: secret armies, bombings, backroom deals, reveal a Cold War underworld that still haunts the imagination. So, that's all I have on Operation Gladio. Yeah. So, I will see you guys in the next one, okay? You stay safe, you stay positive, you keep prepping, and as always, fear less. Ciao.